Hello and welcome to this edition of Age of Truth TV. I'm Lucas Alexander. We are at the PH Café in Copenhagen, Denmark. It's the 3rd of March 2015, and I'm here with author and conspiracy researcher Ole Dammegård, who is back in his native country, Denmark, to talk about the recent terror attacks that just happened in Copenhagen a couple of weeks ago. We're talking about that, which he calls a false flag operation, and how he thinks it's connected to the Paris terrorist attack that happened a month and a half ago. On Valentine's Day, the 14th and the 15th of February 2015, two terrorist attacks carried out by the same lone gunman took place in Copenhagen, Denmark. The small venue Krudttønden, in English the Gun Powder Keg, was the scene where the first terrorist attack took place on the 14th of February, where the Danish filmmaker u.n.agenda was killed at an art event about freedom of speech arranged by the Lars Vilks committee. Lars Vilks, a Swedish artist, who in 2007 portrayed the Prophet Muhammad as a dog in one of his cartoons. 28 gunshots were fired into the venue during the event, and the gunman escaped from the scene. However, on the next day, the 15th of February, the second terrorist attack took place at the Jewish synagogue in central Copenhagen, where a security man, Dan from the Jewish community in Denmark, was killed in front of the synagogue in Krudttønden. The 22-year-old Danish Palestinian Omar Abdel Hamid El Hussein was the supposed gunman behind both terror attacks. He was gunned down by the police, and two policemen were wounded when the shooting took place. The terror attacks became a media sensation and a major scandal in Danish history, which united the population in mourning. Ole Dammegård, thank you very much for doing this interview for Age of Truth TV, and welcome back to Denmark.
Thank you so much. It's my absolute pleasure.
Thank you. It's now been almost a year since we last did our program, False Flags and Secret Conspiracies. And that was actually about you talking about all of these false flag events that you say is happening all over the world, like 9/11, the Boston Marathon, and you name it. It's all in our previous program, which is over 2 hours long. You're talking about the recent terrorist attack that took place in Copenhagen, Denmark on the 14th of February 2015, just a couple of weeks ago. And you're connecting it to the Paris shooting at the satirical magazine, the shooting that took place at Charlie Hebdo. And please explain to us the connection that you think there is between the two tragic events and how you connect these things.
First of all, I just want to say I'm not here to try and persuade anyone or push my opinions on anyone. I'm here to assist with whatever I can do, whatever truth I can help to push forward based on 30 years of this type of research. And I was actually able to predict and go out and publicly warn about this latest thing in Copenhagen 1 month to the exact day before it happened.
1 month?
1 month, exactly. So this is why I'm here. I'm here on my own. I flew in from Spain to be here in Copenhagen to help and expose what's going on. Why is it important? Because we're being presented one person or group that is the so-called enemy But if this is a so-called false flag operation, that is not the enemy, but we need to focus in a different area where this thing was carried out. So this is why it's important. Is it that or is it that? And the difference is just incredibly, the magnitude of difference is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to just explain a false flag operation. It's an old naval term. And it was in the old days where some kind of a nation wanted to maybe invade another country, and they didn't want to have problems with their neighboring countries or other kings or diplomatic things like that. So what they did was they took, instead of just invading and crushing another country, what they did was they got their own ship, they put the enemy flag on it, and then they let their own ship attack themselves, so that they became the victim. Oh my God, we're under attack. And that justified them hammering the other one.
So that's the old expression now.
That's where it comes from, false flag operation.
And also that's the old expression that many truth researchers are using, problem, reaction, solution.
Problem, reaction, solution is an old, it's from the Roman Empire, where a small little elite group develop different methods of how to controlling a massive bigger population. How can a small little group control a lot of people? The way is through fear. You need an enemy on the outside threatening you, then the population will ask for protection. So you need an outer threat, and that you come in as the savior, you come in with a solution. But problem, reaction, solution is that the one in power secretly create a problem to get the reaction. Problem, reaction, solution. Secretly create the problem to get the reaction, and the reaction they always want is the emotional, like, we're under attack. That's the one they want. And then the population will turn to me, who are in power, not knowing that I was the one creating the problem. And then they will say, please, please help us, we're under attack. And then I will say, well, the only way I can help you is by, and here comes the solution. And the solution is something we would never, ever have accepted had it not been for the problem. Problem, reaction, solution. They have used it for centuries. It's been updated, upgraded, high-tech and so on, but it's the same as the old Roman used.
But why do you really think that, how should we say, the people in power would do that? And do you actually think it's happening as much as, well, you claim?
It is I think most people have noticed that in the later years now, things have escalated. It's happening, it used to be like, if you have political big assassinations or so-called terror acts, it was like one. Then there was a year or two or three or four, and then one. Now we're at a point where it's like one. What do.
It's not the first time that you have called something a false flag operation, something that is staged and not real. Do you really think that something like this is happening all the time? I mean, every time you've predicted something like this. But don't you think it could just be a coincidence?
I think it's very, very important to, every time something happens, you have to come with a very open mind, not with any pre-decided decisions. I always try to use what I call Farmer Brown logic. 1 + 1 = 2. That is it. It's not, if somebody tried to persuade you to say 1 + 1 = 34, does not matter if they can prove it in 3D animation, if they got a long title, if they got a white robe and they are like a professor or anything like that. If somebody tries to force you or try to get you to believe that 1 + 1 = 34, you know that they're lying. And I come in with a very simple logic. What happened, happened. The truth is so simple. The truth fears no investigation. So you come to a crime scene, I come to a crime scene, I just look for the proof. Look at what is there. How was it carried out? By whom and who benefited? So in this area of conspiracies, there's a lot of people, as soon as somebody even farts, they would say, it's a conspiracy, it's that. I think for me to have any type of credibility, I have to be very, very careful before I say anything and really build on facts, not theories. I'm only interested in facts.
Some of those so-called facts were presented in the media, on the news, and they even had like a timeline of where this shooter Omar Abdel Hamid El Hussein went. I mean, it seems that all of these surveillance cameras, they have really followed him before they shot him outside of his own apartment. So it seems like the timeline is very, very just out there in the open. Don't you think that that is proof enough? You talk about proof, you talk about really looking at the evidence.
If this was only one event, if I had only looked at this one, I would say I need to look very deep into it, and which I've done. But I'm building what I'm saying on 30 years of my life. I have not been paid by anyone. I have not been asked to do this. I've had friends who was murdered. I've had to leave my home country because I was threatened. The reason why that was just that I was looking for the truth behind these events. The truth, and why are they carried out? Why are these people being murdered and killed and so on? This is what have been driving me for all of these years.
So what do you think specifically happened in this case at this terrorist attack in Copenhagen by this Omar boy who was not very old and who had just been in prison?
Yeah. In these false flag operations, there are different key elements in them. One of them is the patsy. The patsy that they always blame on is a lone crazy guy. They always want him alone because then there's by law, no conspiracy. Then you have to deal with it legally in a totally different way. And crazy, then there was no motive. He went crazy, he then went up and did whatever. So a constant ingredient is the lone crazy guy or fanatic. Okay.
And where we seen that happen before in history?
Oh my God, so many times. The JFK, Lee Harvey Oswald, the Swedish killing of Olof Palme, Christer Pettersson, totally innocent, both of them, in my opinion, after 30 years. All of the different, like you had in Paris, the lone crazy guy, in Ottawa, lone crazy guy, Sydney, lone crazy guy. At the moment now, we have a whole long line of Muslim lone crazy guys. Fanatic.
Do you also think that somebody like Timothy McVeigh at the Oklahoma City bombing was also one of these patsies that you talk about?
I do so indeed, because he was CIA employed and he was there they used him to infiltrate one of these groups and then later used him as a patsy. This is very often they control this person beforehand. When I say they, I'm going to come back to that. But they control the patsy so that they can get him in the position where he then can be killed or blamed and take the fall for the thing.
How about Anders Breivik in Norway, at Utøya, the island where he killed all of these social democratic students?
Yeah, the same thing there. But I want to I've done hundreds of international radio interviews where I go into great details about these different events. So it's not that I'm just saying conspiracy, 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 conspiracy. Please check out my interviews. There are loads on interviews. I've been published on major newspapers, Veterans Today and so on. So I build it on a lot of facts.
Yeah, we have our own interview with Age of Truth TV last year where we talk about it for 2 hours and people can watch that as well to get more in-depth information about your long research. But now we are in Denmark here. And this is interesting because how would they get somebody like this Omar to carry out these events? Calling him a lone gunman, how would they do that? I mean, it's not like, if they kill him, that's not part of the plan, is it?
The thing is that if I am right, if what I say is correct, he was not the one doing the shooting. He was the one taking the fall for it. This is the thing. They have professional...
So he wasn't there?
He was the one who took the fall for it. The patsy is never involved. They never rely on some amateur. They carry out its military operations. The people carrying out the operation are professionals. And the one that takes the fall is the patsy, the extremist, the whatever they label, they're gonna blame him. I don't know about this guy, but I can more or less guarantee you're more or less welcome to chop off my right arm if he was the one doing the shooting. Because when you start getting into the proof and the facts, it points back to a false flag again.
Really?
I would very much like to say that after 30 years, I'm on a level now, a very strange level when it comes to these conspiracies, because I've been welcomed by experts all over the world. We are a group like that, and people send stuff to me now. I'm in contact with people at the Pentagon, former CIA people, whistleblowers, and so on. And so I get things sent to me. And a while ago, I got an email sent where they said that on this timeline that this group, this global elite that we're talking about, at least I'm talking about, that is go under the name the New World Order, in their agenda, the latest agenda, there were the 4 hits to come was in Dublin, Paris, Copenhagen, and Florence.
Florence? Really?
Florence. That was a few months ago. I got that. I thought, okay, fine. I put it in my folder, files, because I got information from different. I don't know who sent it. I have no idea. But I put it as a jigsaw. One day maybe it will fit in somewhere. I don't know. So I put that aside. And then some month later, or a month later or something like that, I got an email by a man on Dublin who had heard me do these things and so on. And he said, there's this eerie image being circulated in the press on Ireland. And he said, I find it really distasteful and a bit scary. What do you think of it? So he sent it to me, and it's a photo like that. I published it on my website, on Facebook and so on. People can look for themselves. And it says it's the 4 different photos. And there's a statue in Dublin. It looks like the Grim Reaper. It's something Malone, something like a very dark looking death figure, it looks almost like. And then it says, Israel now, Dublin next. Okay, that was it. Then there's a photo of Mona Lisa with a chador and a big bomb instead. It says, Israel now, Paris next. Then there's the Little Mermaid with a machine gun, and it says Israel now, Copenhagen next. And then there's the sculpture, the Michelangelo sculpture with a, I think he's got like suicide bombs or something like that, and it says Israel now, Italy next. Israel now, Italy next.
So where are you saying that can be seen?
Well, I've done quite a few interviews, and they put these photos next to each other on my Facebook page as well. Oh. Just go Ole Dammegård, the public
So somebody
one.
has posted that to you?
They send it to me, and when the second one came to me, I thought I heard about this before. The thing is, when you study these false flag operations, when they are false flag, for some reason I don't know, but it's almost like they want to play with us or something like that. They put all these hints out before they happen.
So you're saying that something could happen in Florence as well, which has not happened yet?
Let me get to that one. Because then this second image came, and I thought, I recognize the dates, the places. Then I started checking out, and there had been a bomb threat in Dublin, at the Intel plant in Dublin. While I was just looking at that, because I didn't really take it too serious, I was just checking out like everything else, boom, it happened in Paris. So I thought, whoa, wait a second here, we got Dublin, that happened, boom, we got Paris, that happened. So I thought, instead of always being one step behind, let's try and see if we can get one step ahead. I don't know if this is for real. It's not worth taking the risk. So what I did was I went out on different radio shows saying, I have no idea, but possibly if this is true, then Copenhagen would be next, and then Florence. So what I said, I went out on different shows saying, since a drill is another component in these things, a patsy and a drill, these are two things that keeps recurring again and again. The reason why they have drills, the drills are based on the exact same scenario that then goes live. Okay, so they go out in newspapers, like this. Tonight we're gonna have a security drill there and there for your protection. And then afterwards you find out, oh my God, that's exactly where the terror event happened. And then you see the drill was there and so on. So the drill is recurring, and
you spoke about a drill happening here exactly a month before in Copenhagen.
No, but what I said to was, anyone, I've gone out in many different countries saying, if you hear about a drill, if you see about it in the newspaper, if whatever, go there, film the people setting it up. Maybe it is a drill for your security, or it's something more sinister, because they do, both of these things exist. And what I suggest is, like, go there, film the people setting it up. It will look a bit like a film set like that. You will see strange vehicles, cables, electricity, people, and so on. And film them, make it very, very obvious that they're being observed, so that if it should be a more sinister thing, then we might be able to diffuse it before it even happened. So somebody heard me on radio talking about this, and he sent me a photo. He said, I was on my way home from work today in central Copenhagen. I saw this poster. Could this be something like what you're talking about? And there's a poster about a drill in central Copenhagen at the Nørreport station on the 14th of January, the night between the 4th to the 14th of January. So I said, thank you so much. It could very well be a thing like this. So what I did, I decided to take a step forward. I put it on Facebook and I said, pumped it out, saying, I have absolutely no idea if this is for real or not, but it's 1, 2, 3, Dublin, Paris, Copenhagen. There's a drill. Please bring cameras, bring your friends, go have a night out, film the people around what is going on. Maybe, like I said, maybe nothing, maybe it's something else. Okay, so some people went there, the drill went on, absolutely nothing happened. I thought, thank God, whatever, nobody was hurt, nothing happened. Maybe it was just me being too overcautious or seeing, things like that. Then, 1 month later, on the exact day, hour, everything, boom, this happened. And right in the neighborhood of the same train station.
Although not at this Nørreport station,
no, but very closely. The synagogue is very closely to Nørreport station.
But why do you think they would do it at the Nørreport station if it happens someplace else?
I can only say that I warned for a possible false flag, and it happened 1 month later. So I did not know the details about why they had it.
Don't you think that could just be a coincidence? Because
the last time we spoke around the Bilderberg group meeting that took place also in Denmark last year in 2014, we did our show in May, where the thing was happening at the Marriott Hotel. You also predicted that an explosion and a terrorist, an attack would happen on the Marriott Hotel.
Yeah.
Which, of course, did not happen because the meeting took place there.
I know.
So could this be a coincidence?
Of course.
Or what?
It can always be a coincidence. It's only afterwards, when you have whistleblowers coming forward, when you have people that were involved, that they say, yes, you were spot on. What I don't want is even the chance of innocent people being killed also. If I can make a fool of myself, but maybe saving something, I'm happy to do it,
How do you cope with a lot of the mainstream media and people that have also interviewed you from a more, general perspective, that you're being, put out there and ridiculed and,
I have never been ridiculed.
You've never, you never felt that you had this experience?
No. I have never been ridiculed. I have never been attacked. I have been threatened, and that is why also I was threatened, or I had an email saying they advised me not to come here to Copenhagen, so because of that I come incognito. But
lovely glasses.
Lovely glasses.
Maybe you can use them as sunglasses.
Yeah, so people won't recognize me. No, but this is the whole thing. To come forward with things like that, it's really putting me in a position where, come on, laugh at me, take me and make me a joke. I don't care. For me, the main thing is we need to stop this madness that is going on. And whatever it takes to expose it.
And you don't fear ridicule even when you're not right.
Ridiculous, I don't care. What I do care about is that if what I'm saying is true, then people like me and myself is not popular because we are stirring in the thing. I was not comfortable coming here to Copenhagen at all because it's like, if what I say is correct, it's like sticking your head right into the beehive, or like beehive, and so on.
And yesterday you went for a walk around town with a group, explaining how these attacks happened at the Krudttønden, outside the Jewish synagogue, and also at Krudttønden. But please, let's get into the talk about how the Copenhagen terrorist attack might have been connected to the Paris terrorist attack that you also call a false flag operation, which happened way back in January, almost 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So please tell us how you see the connection.
Okay. For one thing, it's the exact same theme just being repeated. And if you look at, I've done lots of interviews about the Paris thing where you just pick it apart to see the evidence. And I can just mention one little thing when it looks at the evidence, like the car that most people have seen where they shoot this police officer. The car that the two terrorists jumps out from and run around, that is a Citroën C3 from 2014 with white lights on the front and chromed side mirrors. The car that is found very luckily with the ID of one of the terrorists, and that they later do the whole forensic investigation on, is a Citroën C3 from 2013. That's what I'm saying. You have to look at the case, look at inconsistencies, look at the evidence, and that's just one little thing. There are hundreds of things that doesn't match up. And this thing is a very clear sign that what we're seeing is not.
So how do you think, we must go directly into your explanation about how you think that what you call a false flag, two false flags operations, Paris and Copenhagen, how are those two connected, you think? It's about the Mohammed cartoons, an expression of free speech that is being threatened. So please talk about this and try and put the puzzle pieces together.
Please understand that if what I'm trying to present is that we have a power group that is trying to do things with the world, and one of the tools on a street level are false flag operations. So I'm not saying the people doing the false flag operations are the one with the agenda. Absolutely not. It's just a tool how to manipulate and get us into the reaction, and then we will accept their solution. So they love the same themes being repeated. They love doing these things on the same dates again and again and again, and very often they use symbolic places. And so why they do these things, I can just say that it keeps recurring again and again and again. And this theme, I would say now with the freedom of speech, one of the things they've used for many, many years is like, if you attack the population is so diverted in with opinions and political things, the one that you can always get to is patriotism and freedom of speech, democracy. If you threaten these one, that includes everyone. Okay, so we see it the theme and the date, for instance, like in, I think it was 1989, on the 14th of February, Ayatollah Khomeini put a death threat on the author Salman Rushdie. That made a global whole thing about this freedom of speech and so on. He was on the
Satanic Verses.
The Satanic Verses,
that
exactly.
He wrote this book.
Okay. Then this theme repeated where you here in Denmark had a newspaper called u.n.agenda, where they had made some, I think, drawings of Muhammad. We had the same reaction again in media. And I must say, media nowadays, through the ownership in this power pyramid, are very controlled to a large extent. Okay, so you have Jyllands-Posten where it was the same theme, you had the same reaction the whole thing, also pumping us with that Muslims are extremists and all of these things. That's where the threat is. They want to hit us back. They want to stop our freedom of speech. They want to invade us and so on.
And you don't think that's true? That the
I say
Muslims
that
would want that? Or?
I say this is the theme. I will just show you it repeating. Then you had Lars Vilks, the Swedish cartoon or drawer. He made a, I must say, not very high quality drawing of Muhammad with a dog's body. Then he was on the threat. That was 2007. Same theme again and again. Then we have Paris, Charlie Hebdo, same theme again. They made jokes with Muhammad and so on, making cartoons, same theme again. And then we have here in Denmark, where they had a meeting of the exact thing, freedom of speech, democracy. We have to stand up and the threat is over there. And the date of this thing that happened in Copenhagen was exactly on the 14th of February, just like when the death threat, the first one on Muhammad, that Khomeini, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, put on Salman Rushdie. I'm just saying the theme repeats itself.
What do you mean the same date?
The date was the 14th of February. They very often, when you look at these mass shootings and terror acts, check out the dates because they keep repeating the same dates. You have 9/11, 7/7. For instance, 9/11, on 9/11, 1991, exactly on the date 10 years before 9/11 where the towers went down. George Bush Sr., which is very central in this whole agenda, went out publicly and presented the New World Order. That was the first time that somebody really went out openly talking about it. But you go back,
Really?
Salvador Allende in Chile, they killed him on 9/11. The Swedish foreign minister, Anna Lindh, was killed. She died on 9/11. And so
Did she really?
Yes.
Also?
Yeah, they keep repeating these things. So when you look at them, I always look back historically and like, is there anything? Because when you check out many of these so-called terror attacks, they were on Veterans Day, they were on Patriots Day, they were on War Memorial Day, they were on Remembrance Day, they were on Halloween, they were on...
And this was on Valentine's Day?
This was on Valentine's Day, but also you had a 2-day drama on the 14th and on the 15th. 14th were the Valentine Day, which also in certain occult areas of this thing is used for different... I'm not an expert on that. I'm on a street level trying to identify shooters, assassins, these type of things. But this is a repeated pattern that comes up. So I'm just pointing it out. And on the 15th of February, which was when he was killed, or this with the synagogue and all of this thing, that was the day when another major false flag was done, where they blew up the USS Maine in the Havana port on Cuba, where the U.S. it's proven now that it was either an accident or it was an inside job, where they blew up their own ship, blaming it on Spain. This was in 1896, blaming it on Spain. Spain had absolutely nothing to do with it, but the result was that the U.S. went out and got Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines by a false flag. I would humbly suggest when you look at more or less all wars in modern time are based on false flag operations, where you pretend that you're being on attack and that gives you the right to just hammer the other one.
So it's something about specific dates and there are signs and it's about numerology or what are we getting into?
I'm not an expert in that. I'm just pointing it out because it keeps repeating, keeps repeating. And this was on a date where they had done another false flag, because we need to look like they've been on this for a long time. The New World Order, the so-called global elite behind the New World Order. That's what I'm talking about. And
some conspiracy researchers have also stated that 9/11 is 911, which is what you call.
It's like when you get into these type of things, these numbers keep repeating. Like I said, I'm not an expert on that. I leave that to other people. I'm just saying they keep recurring. So that is also why I look at these things.
So it's occultism, really.
I'm not an expert on that, but I say these seems like ingredients in this whole thing.
But
the name of the place, the Krudttønden, When you look at another false flag, I'm not saying that they named this place. I'm saying that they maybe picked this place because of the symbolic value of that as well.
Which is in English called?
The Gun Powder Keg. Gun Powder Keg. It's also, it gets to your subconscious thinking that there's an explosion, a tension and explosion.
And what you're just saying was that on that day, the 14th of February 2015, there was this meeting happening inside the Gunpowder Keg, which is Krudttønden. This actually, it's a venue.
Yeah.
About freedom of speech and about these things, about the Mohammed cartoons as well, with this Lars Vilks, this Swedish, what is he, a journalist or cartoonist?
Artist, yeah.
Yes, artist. And that was on the same date.
The 14th. It was the 14th, not the 15th. It was on the 14th. And the name of the talk even included the word fatwa, as far as I know. That was the death threat that Ruhollah Khomeini put on Salman Rushdie exactly on the 14th as well.
In 1989.
1989. I'm just pointing at similarities. Okay. So, when you look at the thing that happened here in Copenhagen, I must say, absolutely, if what happened, my absolute condolences with victims and their families. I don't want to cause pain or anything, but I need to point out things that could show a different variation or different truth behind it. So when you look at this thing, the official story is they had this meeting to stand up for the freedom of speech. It was following the events in Paris and the importance of standing up as a people and standing up fighting for the freedom of speech because we are under attack. So you had different people invited. There was about 30 people, as far as I've been able to find out, that was at this meeting. There was a woman, a Ukrainian woman that held a speech and so on. And there's an audio recording from that is owned by the BBC where you can hear her give the speech, blah, 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 blah. And then boom, 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 boom. You hear the shots fired. You hear the whole series of shots. They stop. And you hear people are running around and somebody's picking up. But you hear the sequence of shots stopped. It's a certain stop. It's not that it's cut in the middle. There's a certain number of shots. Then there is, when you listen to that, because I'm saying, if this is a false flag, it will be like a film set and they will have put it together. It will not be a real event. It will be an event to push in media out there to get the reaction from us.
So do you think that what happened inside of the venue, Krudttønden, was a staged event? I'm
going to show you some things that might point in that direction. So you look at the sequence of numbers, because the thing is that somebody had been outside the Krudttønden. You can find that on YouTube. It says something like Copenhagen shooting raw footage. Somebody is filming the windows of the Krudttønden when the shot starts firing. So you can see the sequence, boom, 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 in the glass where the shots come through. So you compare the two shooting patterns of the audio recording and the film, not the same sequence. They come like in different intervals. Okay. Then you have, how is that possible? Then you look at the audio recording from what happened inside there. She gives a speech. There's about 30 people in there. Somebody starts shooting at you. I would suggest a normal reaction would be somebody would scream. They would throw themselves under the tables. Maybe glasses would turn over. Anything like that. Here you have speech, shots, and then steps. Nothing, no screaming, no saying, nobody says a word at all. Okay? Then I also want to point out, when it comes to these false flag operations, another ingredient that keep popping up is the BBC. You take 9/11, where this BBC reporter was standing, a female, saying, and here we are, it's very awful, it was in the afternoon after 9/11, Building 7 has just collapsed. You look behind her, she's out of time. The timeline, she's not following the timeline due to time differences. I would say US and England, they're making a mistake here. The building is still there for another 20 minutes.
And that can actually be seen on footage and video clips if people search for it.
This I'm just saying facts. I'm not making it up. Find it. Look on YouTube. It's very easy to see. She's standing saying, "And my God, the building has come down. Very sorry, it's still there." Paris, you have BBC again. There was this reporter afterwards where when you look at the shots fired, where the body, so-called body of the police officer was lying and so on, no blood, no nothing like that. Then later, when the BBC comes, you got loads of blood. You compare this location of where the body was and where the blood is. It's not in the same place. And then he says, and here we stand, you can see here behind me where the blood was put on the pavement. He says, put on the pavement. I'm just saying the Freudian slips and so on. Not that here's where the victim was bleeding to death, where the blood was put on it.
But if he's a news presenter, why would he say put on the pavement? Why would he say that if he's supposedly,
because
knows about it?
In these false flag operations, you got the people carrying them out, you got the patsy, you got the drill on top of it, and you got key people in media that is reporting there, because what is important with this whole thing is what is being pumped out through media to get to you, to get the emotional reaction from us who are watching, that we will go, oh my God, and then they can come with a solution.
But if he's presenting what you're saying is a false scenario.
Did he know about it? Yes, very much so.
But, well, if you're saying he knew about it, why would he say on public television that the blood was put on the pavement?
This is what I'm saying. It's called a Freudian slip.
Oh.
It's a Freudian. He did not. I tell you, they kicked his butt.
He made a mistake, you say?
A total mistake. They have been kicking his butt afterwards, But it goes out on live TV and then it's too late. What do you think about this reporter on 9/11? Do you think she was very popular afterwards? And here is Building 7. No, it was not. But when these things happen, there's a lot of stress, people are nervous, and it's very hard to synchronize.
So do you think that these reporters actually know, if you say that it's a false flag operation and a conspiracy, created, organized from within, you think that they know that? But if a lot of people know that, how can it be kept a secret?
But this is the whole thing. It is not a lot of people. You will see the same key people turning up again and again and again. This is why it's so important to compare the different events, that if you manage to prove here's a false flag, then you look into another one after a long and thorough investigation. That's another false flag. Here's another false flag. And then you start seeing the same people appearing, boom, and then boom, 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 boom. There could be a pattern. Do you see?
What do you mean the same people, the same reporters?
Same reporters, same companies, even nowadays the same people involved in these false flag operations.
So what you're saying is that a lot of the news that you see on television is fabricated and not the truth, that people can't rely on what they see in the news?
I think you should be very critical to what you see on the news. Keep an open mind and not just buy into it right away, because the media nowadays is used to a major extent to control the population. You can see that it's not that reporters, every single one, know about it, but through the ownerships of these networks, this is where they try, because media is one of the ways to get to people. Media, the music, films, this is an easy way to get to you.
So you're saying that a lot of stuff can be presented in the media and the newspapers and things like that without...
It's one of the ingredients. When you look at these false flags again and again and again, one of the things is that beforehand, before the thing happens, you can see it on stock markets with insider trading, people knowing about the event. You can see suddenly that just before it happens, whoop, they put stock options, they close down currencies and stuff like that, so that when it happened, they make absolute billions of it. Yeah. How could they know beforehand if they were not, these things? So you check stock markets, you check insurance policies for buildings blown up, that just before it happens they change the insurance so that it covers whatever happens and so on. And one of the things also in media, in certain of their control media, they leak out information that would paint this patsy to come black, or this group to be pointed out black, so that it's easier to persuade the population into thinking, oh my God, I know they're guilty because I read something about them, like that. We were talking about this ritual, strange things that they're doing with these numbers and so on. I just want to point out that on the 9th of February, just a few days before this event happened, like you named 9/11, 7/7, 7/11, the 666, which is not a very nice number in there in our world, because
that's the number for Satan, right?
That
Satanism.
is the number of the beast, they say. And also one of the symbols they keep using is the pyramid with the all-seeing eye, this triangular shape with an eye on the top, and the number 666. So I would just like to show you one of your own newspapers here in Denmark. On the 9th of February, there was this one. I would say this is not discreet. It is a very, very powerful headline. It doesn't make sense really with what the article is. Then you got the eyes on the top, very stereo. You got the pyramid shape there with a radioactive sign, which also they keep repeating in many of these. I don't know why they do it. The sound of Chernobyl, and then on this side it says, let the people draw the prophet the way they want. This was before it happened.
That's like 5 days before that it happened.
I'm just pointing it out for people to make up their own opinion.
That could be a coincidence as well.
Totally.
You can see anything you like if you really want to.
I can, but it's by when it keeps repeating. If this was one event, fine. But when I find it in Ottawa, in Sydney, in Paris, in Denmark, and it just like doom. I, as a journalist, I've spent many years with a journalist mind of seeing it. You have to start seeing, like, if it happens there, maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe it could be part of these things.
Yes, your eyes are open.
I try to keep an open mind. I try to learn all the time, and so on.
So you're saying that there are too many coincidences?
I'm saying look at the facts, let them speak for
Or
themselves.
that there are too many things that actually doesn't fit, or in fact does fit if you look at it from a different perspective.
This is the whole thing. The truth, if something happens, it is very simple. I love the truth. It is so clean, so simple. It happened. I turn over the glass. It was an accident. It happened. But you saw the glass went over it as well. It's not complicated. But when you try and stage something and build it on lies, it gets extremely complicated. The more people involved, the more lies, the more you need to cover up, the more you need to stop it. And this is where I try to look for the signs where it doesn't fit in.
But why would they want to stage a conflict between the Muslim world and the Western world or the Jews? I mean, there's enough problems in Israel already between the Palestinians and the Israelis. And there are too many problems already between the Muslims and the people in the Western world. Why can't we find more peace? And if we listen to the politicians, it's always about peace. It's always about, working for a better world for all of us. Why do you think that an elite group or a shadowy government or somebody like that would orchestrate a conflict even further? Why would they want to do that between the Muslim world and the Western world or the Jews?
We're back to the old Roman Templars, divide and conquer. And this is the thing, they don't want us to understand that they are the threat against us, the one trying to control us, because they want total control over us. So what they do is they always need a boogeyman. They point you towards that. It's not us, it's over there, it's to divert our attention away from what's going on. I would just say that after all of these things, it's the same solution they present to us every single time. The solution is more and more protection for your sake, for our sake, because they care very much about us. And that protection will be in more and more militarized police, more and more surveillance, more and more you have to give up your liberties, you have to give up your human rights, your civil rights, you have to accept that they can check everything you do. that they can go into your computer, you know, that they can do all of these things without you even knowing it. Every single time that a thing like this occurs, the solution presented is you pay. You pay, and through your tax money as well, that you will have to pay or finance even more surveillance, even more control, even the.
But a lot of the people in the general population who certainly believe the official story and believe what the media and the politicians have been telling them. They think it's a good thing that they get more security and they feel more safe and with more surveillance and their liberties being taken away from them, and maybe they think it's a better world for them. How would you go about telling people more about these things and getting them really to understand what you're saying, which is very, very controversial? I mean, a lot of people can't believe that something like that could actually happen. The people in power supposedly are here to take care of us and do something good for the world. Why would they want to do that? It's very difficult for a lot of people to understand when there are only so many researchers like you who come out and talk about it publicly, and it's very difficult for a lot of people to understand that if this could actually happen, what kind of a world are we then living in, really?
It is very difficult to understand. I've had many years where I've just been sitting with all of these things, digging myself into, just not being able to see, is this really true? Is it possible? Can I not trust this person? And so what is going on? And the waking up, if what I put forward is true, then it is a painful waking up, because it's like you have to almost unlearn a lot of what you've been told. You have to suddenly see that through these hidden networks, like where the Bilderberg Group is one of them, that this person who looks so nice on TV and is there for my protection and who tells me all the things I want to know or hear, like for my protection, for my better world, for unity, peace and all, how come there are all these beautiful words, but the agenda keeps pushing up? Why does the wars, the conflicts just get worse and worse? And why are there more and more attacks? Why are there more and more and so on?
But do you think that those politicians or people you're talking about, do you actually think that they know these things, that they believe that they're part of this agenda? Don't you think they're working for something that they believe is good?
Some are handpicked people, others are not. This is why it's so important to expose groups like the Bilderberg Group that have been meeting. The Bilderberg Group is just one part of the global pyramid. I mean, we're up here when it comes to the Bilderberg. There's a top of the pyramid that I leave to other researchers to expose.
The Illuminati?
I leave it to other people. I don't know enough about it. There's a lot of there's a lot of people talking about who's up there, but I have had to focus on one part so that I become good at one part, so I can deliver and help with my little part. Then I leave that to other researchers. But these secret, I would say, parts of a hidden world government where the Bilderberg Group is one. In my book, Coup d'etat in Slow Motion, that you can find on my website, lightonconspiracies.com, the last 200 pages are just memberships list of the Bilderberg Group from 1954 to 2014. The hidden agenda that they've had, been meeting once a year in incredible secrecy with loads of protection, helicopters, like a James Bond movie and so on. And where they've been meeting are one of the things. When you compare the agenda that has leaked out and what happened in the world afterwards, it goes almost parallel. So I would say if it keeps repeating, and these people that are handpicked people in more or less all Western countries, just a handful from each different country. They meet in total secrecy, and then whatever they discuss then happens the year after in the world. There might be a connection.
So do you think that the last time we met, and we did the long program for Age of Truth TV, I was at the Bilderberg meeting in Copenhagen last year in 2014.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that something like what happened now with the terrorist attack in Copenhagen, that could have been planned during this Bilderberg meeting?
If it was planned at that meeting, I totally believe, yes, it was connected connected, that their connection, at least to this group, if they did it on this meeting, I don't know. I also want to say that their whole agenda, one of the main things is that it's totally compartmentalized. It is very important that one person only knows his little part. This is up through the whole global pyramid, the power pyramid, and I believe in groups like the Bilderberg Group as well, that people, it's only the very few that know the agenda, the real agenda, and people are manipulated and duped into believing that they're doing something for good and so on. So I'm not pointing fingers at these men saying, oh, they're so evil, oh, they're so bad, all of them. But they are involved in, I would call, organized crime, behind the scenes, pulling the strings and pushing the world in a very dark direction that I don't want to take part of.
So they're actually trying to manipulate, let's say, the Muslim world and the Western world, or the Jewish community, against each other. Is that what you're saying?
They want total control. This is one of the things. They want global total control. And one of the ways is to divide and conquer. And they need an outer threat. They need the enemy from the outside, so they can point, the problem is over there. Mm-hmm. In the old days, the boogeyman was the Russians, the Bulgarians, the Polish, East Germans. You can see that in movies and so on. Ooh, scary. At that point, there was no Muslim threat whatsoever in the world, as far as I know. Then at that point, the Muslim world was, oh, we love them, they're no problem at all. But the boogeyman. Then when the Cold War was over, the wall came down, boom. What did they do? They needed a new threat. So what they tried first with the alien threat, there's a threat from outer space, we need to unite mankind against outer threat. Didn't really work, nobody bought it, it was too far-fetched. So who are we going to do? Who are we going to? The Muslims. That's a good group, because through the Quran, we can use the Quran, because in the Quran there are certain parts that are talking about that hit back, don't be too friendly with people that are not of the same faith, and so on. It's quite a strict religion. That, and also these people, the boogeyman needs to work well in media. So the group or the person needs to look a bit scary or crazy or something, so that normal people will buy into it. Oh, it was him. And with the Muslim population, you have dark eyebrows, dark hair, black eyes, big mustache, and strange names like Abdul Karim Karumkara and something like that. And many people don't even know where they come from. They don't even know their name. And so if you keep pumping it, and I tell you, have we been pumped with this thing? If I say Islam, your brain will connect it terrorism. If I say Muslim, you will say, where's the bomb? And if I say my name is Muhammad and I've got dark skin, it just says terrorist in my forehead. In most people's awareness, you don't say it openly, but that's how they connected the dots. They pumped us with this.
So in Paris, there was these two brothers. Who were the Paris brothers, and who was then the third gunman?
We're talking, I would very much suggest patsies again. You look at the like I just pointed out.
So they were being a patsy. That's what you explained before. That they were unaware of it, or they were actors, or what do you?
They didn't take part of it at all. They were the ones, the fall guys. They were the ones killed and found. As the boogeyman, you can just see like one of the witnesses inside the newspaper did. She said, "Oh my God, he was walking down." They always shriek, "Allah Akbar, and I'm doing this for the Prophet and all of this thing. And she said, his eyes, cold blue eyes. Sorry, both brothers, brown eyes.
But maybe some Muslims can have blue eyes.
Of course, but the photos of the two brothers, both of them got brown eyes. It's not the same vehicle, as I said. You can look that for yourself. It's not the same. It's a similar vehicle, but not the same vehicle that they used. That were then found with evidence inside it. You can also see that the car, that when they drive up and they have the meeting with the police car, they're ranging out shooting like this, that the rear window of the car is blown out, it's shot out of the escape car. Then the car that was dumped, and where they checked and found all the evidence, the rear window is not broken. And so it keeps on and on and on, which you don't have to be very bright to see that I think there's something spooky here. And then it's like when it builds up and up and up, that's when you get a foundation of truth to stand on.
So why France? Why Paris?
It is a very good question that I don't know if I'm the right person to answer. I know that one of the things this elite group do is that when a country gets a bit out of line, they knock you. It's just like Obama said very lately. Sometimes we just have to twist the arm of some nations. And when you look at when these false flags happen, it's very often that something quite controversial is going on in that country at the moment. When the mass shootings in Norway was just about to try and withdraw out of NATO's operations, and where they found we don't want to keep bombing this innocent country. You know, they wanted to pull out. Boom, hit, back in line. We're back.
But do you know if any specific plans were made in Paris?
No, but they just accepted. As far as I know, they were just accepting Palestine as a being pro-Palestine. And so, boom, hit. But this is on an area, I'm on a street level. I don't know the bigger agenda when it comes to these political things.
So right now we are in Denmark,
Yeah.
and it's only a couple of weeks ago since the terrorist attack happened
Yeah.
here. Why Denmark? Why Copenhagen? We have a very nice system here, and
Yeah.
it's something like that. This has never happened in Denmark before. Why Copenhagen? Is that because of the Mohammed cartoons, the drawings actually came from here with the newspaper Jyllands-Posten, or why do you think that is?
I don't know. I know that sometimes when they try to scare the crap out of us, you need to hit places where it's not the same effect if you got a bomb blown up in Baghdad, for instance, because bombs blow up in Baghdad all the time. But if you hit cities like where it's totally peaceful, totally beautiful, democracy and everything is beautiful, boom, a terror attack, then the emotional impact gets bigger.
So a lot of people will fear listening to these very alternative and very controversial views that you've presented here today about the Copenhagen terrorist attack and also about Paris. So what is your message for them? I mean, how can they cope? How can the general population cope with this kind of information?
I would say that the truth is what liberates us. And if I say what I say is just lies and whatever, no problem. If what I say is the truth, then it's very important to listen to this type of I'm not by far the only one pointing these things out, because it's a matter of who is threatening us. Is that group, or is it an enemy from within? And I would say that it's if it's not the official version, then we really need to look critically at this group that is there for our protection, we think, but they have another agenda. And the last thing I want to do is scare people. Absolutely not. I'm here my intention is love, compassion, forgiveness. Let's create a beautiful world together. But we are being fed a lot of lies with the intention of controlling us. So I said, let's expose the lies, let's free ourselves of that, and then we can join together and stop seeing each other as enemies, stop blaming innocent minorities or innocent groups that have nothing to do with these things, but are being blamed for it.
So people should not fear going into these matters, these topics, and do their own research, but...
Totally. Don't buy what I say or anyone else without criticism. Totally. But look into it and don't put your faith totally in this blacks in front of you. These medias are to a big extent used to get to you. So I would say maybe look for information from different angles, different sources and so on. And when it comes to the Paris event and the Copenhagen event, we've just touched a little bit on the facts, on the evidence. I've done many different radio interviews, and one of them is Red Eye's Creations, and there I go into great details. Please listen to it. If you think it's absolute baloney, forget about it. If it can help you in a greater understanding of what is going on, then take it, use it.
and more about your 30 years of researching this, we've done in our own interview with Age of Truth TV, which is called False Flags and Secret Conspiracies, that people can also find on ageoftruth.dk and on YouTube. Ole Dammegård, thank you very much for doing this interview with Age of Truth TV and presenting your always interesting, enlightening, and alternative views on a very, very, very current and, controversial matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucas.
Age of Truth.